Ladies and gentlemen, the Raptors are in the playoffs and I cannot wait for it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Tisham, my channel where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors as well as some NBA. So, the Raptors playoffs are about to start on Saturday against the Philadelphia 76ers. And I want to do, you could say, a two-part video where I kind of bring up the realities or the dreams that the Raptors could face throughout the whole playoffs and then go into the analysis of the series coming up on Saturday. So, without further ado, let's talk Raptors dream versus reality. So, sorry guys. Their dream, of course, for any fan, for any organization, is to win the championship. Do I believe the Raptors are capable of it? Yes, I do. The reason being that you can't predict what happens to other teams, and the Raptors are played well enough to show that they can hang with the big boys to be able to make a deep run in the playoffs. And a dream run would be, getting to the finals, winning a championship. Honestly, as a Raptor fan, dream run would be to just even win the Eastern Conference championship, given where we started this year with. So, but there are realities that the Raptors fans and the Raptor organization might end up having to face during this playoffs. So the first reality is that the Raptors might not have the experience to be able to make this deep run towards a championship or possibly win the championship. Because coming into this season, we were all, the NBA world, every Raptor fan basically thought that the Raptors were going into what you could say a semi rebuild because they traded away Kyle Lowry, got a young asset in Precious Achiuwa. Gary Trent Jr. was renewed, Pascal Siakam, or Freddie VanVleet, OG Anunoby. So we went a lot younger than we were previously with DeRozan or Kawhi, Ibaka, Marcus, all those guys when we have won that championship. DeRozan was part of it, but you get what I'm saying. So it seemed like the Raptors were going younger. Yes, we do have two veterans who've been there previously, in Pascal and Freddie, but they're still they're not veteran that you consider because those guys are about 27, 28, and their championship run that we had was them coming off of the bench, other than I think Pascal was starting. And, that doesn't mean they have the experience to be starters. There's much more considerable, you could say, pressure. There's a lot more things going on in the playoffs. Teams are better able to be come up with plans for each and every player because they know they're going to be playing the same team over and over again for at least 7 games possibly. And, teams are going to be more concentrating on these guys. So there's a possibility, that the Raptors might not have the experience to be able to cope with those things. Do I believe we don't have that? I don't think so. I think I say halfway. It's not that we have all of it or we don't have any of it. I think we're in the middle because even most of our guys like Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Pressure, they've shown that they can handle those high pressure situations when they're playing against big teams like Phoenix Suns, Denver Nuggets, Milwaukee Bucks. So they have that capability. But the reality is there's a possibility that some of these guys might struggle during the pressure. And that was one of the main reasons why Nick Nurse said that it's very important for us to just get into the playoffs, to gain that experience, to be able to cope with it if we don't succeed to this year, for us to be ready for it the next time we get into the playoffs, which will be definitely be next year, given how the Raptors have been playing. So that's the first reality. The second reality, guys, is always injuries. Raptors have shown that they are a team that are able to do well, not be like Phoenix Suns without one of their main players in Chris Paul, but do well when other guys are injured. But in the playoffs, the healthiest team usually ends up succeeding. And the Raptors have shown this year that they have not been as healthy as the previous years. OG's been in and out. Freddie's been struggling with his knees. You don't know how it is going to this playoffs. Gary Trent Jr. has missed time with his calf strain. Did Precious miss some time? I think he did too. And then Malachi missed time, and it's just like the Raptors have had guys coming in and out. And there's a possibility that those injuries might resurface once we get, possibly win the first round and move to the second round, because now it's probably going to be one game after the other, like every other day. So those injuries might resurface. God forbid that do, knock on wood that don't. But that's just a reality of the NBA, that injuries are part of the playoffs. And there's a possibility that might end up happening to other teams and lead to Raptors getting more success. In regards to, that's basically the dream scenario, right? You don't want anybody to get injured, but if they do and it gives you an advantage, that's just part of karma, and that's just part of what would help our team move forward in a sense. Um, the third weird thing is, guys, is that there are teams that have a lot more chemistry and a lot more, you could say, it seems like it's their moment, right? And that has to do with teams like Phoenix Suns, who've been playing very well together. They have everything figured out. Their guys have been healthy. They played a lot more games together. Milwaukee Bucks are doing very well. They won a championship before. All of their guys came back. And you could possibly say Miami Heat. All of their guys have been together for a while. And then Kyle Lowry, who just brings that experience and is able to adjust his game accordingly very easily. So there's a lot of teams that are, have more, you could say, chemistry, as well as the moment is for them. And that's the reality. They're just better at this moment because of I wouldn't say the talent that they have, because I think the Raptors have a lot of talent. It's just because of the continuity that they have, or that they have had in the previous 2 to 3 years. Whereas the Raptors, this is a considerably new team. The only three guys that have been on this team for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, that have played together for a time, is OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Freddie VanVleet. Nobody else. So that plays a major role. And the that's a reality that Raptors have to face, that there's a possibility that the chemistry isn't at the level that it should be, or the consistency of playing together is not at that level right now, that you can make that deep run, right? That you understand each other's emotions. That, if you have a bad game, you know what you need to say to the guy on your, the right, and get him to go for the next game, right? There's a possibility that, being young, these guys might end up, colliding a little bit. I don't think the Raptors will do that. They are a very professional bunch of guys, professional organization, but that's always a reality that you might end up facing. That we might not be at the same level in chemistry and, understanding between each other that other teams might be. The last thing, guys, the reality is that the Raptors are facing extra pressure. Because they're always considered an underdog, and I'm watching these sports shows and they're talking about LeBron's tweet and bullshit, and there was Kendrick Perkins who's just discounting the Raptors altogether out of the playoffs, and there was considerable pressure coming into the Raptors, getting into the playoffs. They were considered a playing team, young guys not there yet, blah 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 blah. And there's a possibility that pressure might end up getting to people when they, have 1 or 2 bad games in the playoffs. Because these guys are young, man. They're not 20. They're not like 30-year-old who's been through the ringer, who's understood, who's gone through the ups and downs. They're just starting their careers, and hearing these things being always discounted. Yes, it allows the Raptors to have the chip on their shoulder, and I feel like, honestly, that would be the dream scenario, that these guys, instead of taking all this crap in and letting it get to them, they use it as fuel to show the world what the Raptors are capable of. But there's always the other side, guys, that, it might get to a few guys, and then, they might need to reset and not perform up to that level this year, and then might reset for them to go next year. And that's a real possibility for the Raptors, given how young they are. But the last thing I want to address, guys, in this video at least, again, this is with the last reality that I talk about, is we are being highly underestimated. I do not believe the Raptors are a team that will be knocked out in the first round. We are a team that will be, will get to the second round. There's no doubt in my mind about that, even with all the realities that we are facing, barring some considerable crap that might happen to us, unsurmountable injuries. The Raptors are fully capable of it, but there's level of disrespect that the Raptors are shown throughout the media, throughout the league, is just throughout, even the refs, is horrible. This team has earned every possible thing that they have gotten. They have gone through serious adversity. They're the only team that had to play outside of their home, and then when they got home, they didn't have fans for more than 75% of their freaking season. Come on, man. And for people like Kendrick Perkins and other people just saying, hey, Philadelphia got Joel Embiid. Well, I get Joel Embiid is a good player, but dude, don't disrespect the Raptors. We got stars, and we will. That will be something that will be addressed in my next video when we talk about Philadelphia versus the Raptors, series number 1. Here we come, Philly. So that's what I have for you guys for this video. Like I said, as a Raptor fan, my dream is that we win that championship, and I truly believe we will. But you still got to consider the realities before you go into anything. So that's all I have for you guys for this video. Please stay tuned for my analysis for the Philadelphia versus the Raptors video that will be dropped on Friday, and I will see you guys after that video.